The Forum in Inglewood, California, where the 1987 NBA championship will be decided either this afternoon in number 6 or Tuesday night in number 7. CBS Sports welcomes you to its continuing coverage of the 87 NBA Finals. It's one of the great rivalries in all of sports. It's the Celtics and the Lakers, and again, these two great basketball franchises have reached number 6 in this championship series. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I'm Brent Musburger, and as Sevi Ballesteros and J.C. Sneed get underway in that sudden death playoff, we will keep you up to date, but you will stay right here in the Forum. You will not miss a single point. At halftime, we'll bring you any important shots that you do not see, too. Now, to get you up to date on Game 6, let's go down to Dick Stockton and Tommy Heinsohn. Dick?
All right, Brent, there are two key players on each club who've been fighting injuries. Michael Cooper, you know, suffered that strained knee in a collision with Dennis Johnson. He worked out, not 100%, but he'll give it a go. Danny Ainge yesterday sprained an ankle landing on Robert Parrish in practice, and that's hurting him to a great degree, but he too is starting and will try and give it the full go. I hear from Dr. Tom Silver of the Celtics that Bill Walton is the healthiest he has been all season long. Tommy Heinsohn, let's talk about the tempo which the Celtics had controlled in the 3 games in Boston.
The Lakers really started the series running real hard. The Celtics stopped them up in Boston, took that run game away from them. The half-court game became more prevalent. The matchups, I think, they now know who they can beat up on. I think Magic Johnson can do a tune on any of the Celtic guards, and the Celtics have been going at AC Green.
What about the timing of the substitutions off the bench by these coaches?
The first substitution for each coach, very important. When Michael Thompson comes in, that slows the Lakers down. They don't have as, quote, a potent a fast break. And Kite, very important to stop the fast break of the Lakers.
All right, Tommy and Brent, the Lakers are so glad they're back home in the friendly confines of the Forum.
No, exactly right, Dick. The Lakers unbeaten at home here in the Forum. And you know, the Celtics have really not played that well on the road in the playoffs. Now, Las Vegas has listed the Lakers as a 10-point favorite in this game. And the Celtics are determined to prove that they are wrong and push this into a 7th game, which will be played on a Tuesday night. So coming up, it's Game 6.
The crowd here at the Forum awaits the introduction of the starting lineups. Let's go to our public address announcer, Lawrence Tanner.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Forum for Game 6 of the 1987 NBA Finals. Now let's meet the starting lineups. First, for the Eastern Conference champions, the Boston Celtics. At guard, in his 11th season from Pepperdine, number 3, Dennis Johnson. At guard, in his 6th season from BYU, number 44, Danny Ainge. At center, in his 11th season from Centenary, 00, Robert Parrish. At forward, in his 7th season from Minnesota, number 32, Kevin McHale. Also at forward, in his 8th season from Indiana State, number 33, Larry Bird. And the head coach for the Celtics in his 4th season, K.C. Jones. Now for the Western Conference champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. At forward, in his 5th season from North Carolina, number 42, James Worthy. At forward, in his 2nd season from Oregon State, number 45, AC Green. At guard, in his 4th season from Arizona State, number 4, Byron Scott. At guard, in his 8th season from Michigan State, number 32, Irvin Magic Johnson. And at center, the captain, in his 18th season from UCLA, number 33, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And the head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers in his 6th season, Pat Riley.
The officials working today's 6th game, Darrell Garretson and Joe Crawford. The alternate is Ed Rush. So the Boston Celtics, who took 2 out of 3 on their home court, out-rebounded the Lakers and outshot L.A. But now they're back to the Forum, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Larry Bird wants to keep it going for the Celtics. And to keep you up to date on the Westchester Classic, the sudden death playoff is underway. Seve Ballesteros' tee shot went into the rough. He's tied with J.C. Snead as they begin on the 10th hole. But Tommy, I know that matchups will play a very important role in this game because the teams have had 5 games to see what works and what doesn't.
It's been a dance stick. Whichever team has controlled the tempo has really won the game, with the exception perhaps of the one game the Lakers took in Boston. But the Lakers want to run, and they have really 4 fast people. They probably will key more on 4-on-3 situations than they have in the past. The Celtics have to key on their shot selection, not take poor shots.
Interestingly enough, they outran the Lakers and outscored them on the fast break in Game 5. But it's Game 6. We're underway. The Lakers need 1 to wrap it up. And we're going to re-jump. LA. Danny Ainge with a taped ankle covered by his stocking. Good pass into Kareem. And a quick 2-0 lead for LA.
Can't get better position than Kareem got on that little pick. Forced McHale to switch over on him.
Dennis Johnson has his shot blocked by Kareem. Here's Worthy. The block shot by Kareem, and he leads everybody in that department, and James Worthy hasn't done that since Game 2 here in LA.
He's back airborne again, James Worthy.
Parrish, the offensive rebound with a high arcing shot off of Kareem, and the 40-year-old Abdul-Jabbar hustles for it. It'll be Boston ball.
Dennis Johnson makes a good drive along the baseline, but the real hustle of Kareem knocks it away and saves 2 and started a very important fast break.
Double team on McHale. Larry Bird misses his first shot. Here's Scott. Dennis Johnson gets back and plays Scott well. Magic goes flying. Magic posting up inside. AC Green comes in. The ball batted away. It might have been McHale who got a hand on it. Meanwhile, it's 3-on-3 for Boston, and Dennis Johnson is fouled going in. Ballesteros, the second shot, hit a tree, and he is in immediate trouble on the first hole of sudden death at the Westchester. Meanwhile, Dennis Johnson is on the line, and the personal foul is on Worthy. And Tommy, Worthy missed his first 5 shots in each of the last 2 games before opening up the scoring.
Fast break points are very important for James Worthy's psyche, I think. And he got off and flying, a jam on the front end of a fast break. But Boston, importantly, came back on a fast break themselves and took it right at Magic Johnson. So they are certainly willing to run.
And despite Ainge's problems, this may be the healthiest the Celtics have been all playoffs. Magic's pass to Worthy finally got through. Minute and a half gone by, first period. Worthy, so far, looks like a different player at home.
Pat Riley certainly wanted to get James Worthy off early and get his game incorporated into a winning effort.
Top scorer in the playoffs for the Lakers, but not against the Celtics. Bird is 0 for 2 now. AC Green the rebound. It's a 4-on-4, 5 for the Lakers as they settle half court. Worthy, defense by McHale now. Yep, they want to get him off early.
He has listened to enough about what happened to James Worthy. He's saying right now, nothing happened to James Worthy.
That's the story from the Westchester. And Tommy, so far this is reminiscent of Game 1 when the Lakers moved in front 9-0 en route to a rout.
They certainly have the streakers out in the front end of that fast break, particularly James Worthy. He's getting out there quick.
And McHale Connects, and the Celtics hit their first shot with 2.5 minutes gone by in Game 6.
Celtics have been going directly at AC Green with Kevin McHale. He is not big enough to defend against McHale.
Magic goes off the mark, and the rebound by McHale. Ainge on the wing. And the reason they want to go at AC Green is that they want to eliminate that speed aspect and force the Lakers to go to Michael Thompson.
If they can get AC Green out of the game, that's a big plus in slowing the game down.
Bird misses a left-handed shot. He's struggling from the field, and here's a 3-on-1. Byron Scott. He's the other guy who was ice cold in Boston, along with James Worthy.
Anytime Bird, Dennis Johnson, or Ainge drives to the basket and they miss, they leave only 2 people back in the backcourt to defend against the Laker fast break. They're capitalizing on that right now.
McHale against Green. There's the matchup. The Celtics taking advantage. McHale hits the basket and a foul as well. And AC Green picks up the first and the second team foul.
Here's the Celtic advantage. AC Green not beefy enough to really move McHale out of that sweet spot down there. Even though Kareem comes over to help out, it's a little bit too late.
Kevin McHale, who has been big on the boards the last 3 games, particularly off the offensive glass, brings the Celtics to within 3. Kareem. And a foul before the shot against Robert Parrish. Tommy, in the 2 Celtic wins, Parrish got into foul trouble, and yet the Celtics won nonetheless.
Casey Jones rotated Greg Kite in there, and he's a key part of getting back and stopping a Laker fast break. And he also will manhandle Kareem a little bit, which wears a 40-year-old man down.
Magic posting up against Ainge. Misses the hook shot. Larry Bird, the trailer is Dennis Johnson, gave up the shot. Parrish in better position, and he's fouled. So Larry Bird struggling from the start, as he's had so many times in this series, and in fact in the playoffs. This is what he's done the last 3 games. 0 for 13, and he's yet to hit 1 today.
Celtics offense, though, Dick, is primarily a low post offense. At trying to get Bird hitting some outside shots to pull the defense out to uncover Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. And if he doesn't hit that shot, the Laker defense will be able to cover up those 2 big guys of the Celtics.
Lakers were particularly disturbed, Tommy, at the fact that they've been double teaming McHale and Parrish, and yet both are hitting over 60%. Each one of the Lakers front court has a personal foul. 1-point lead after the big start by the Lakers. And they call the foul on Parrish, and that'll be number 2 on the Celtics big man. And Casey Jones has a quick decision to make.
Very, very smart play by Pat Riley when they do not have the fast break to go to Kareem to get one of the real fine offensive rebounders the Celtics possess, the Chief, Robert Parrish, out of the lineup.
And as we said at the outset, not only is Greg Kite available, and he has played well in the 2 Boston wins, but Bill Walton may be his healthiest, and he also is a possibility.
Becoming a series of picking on people, and you can select with that half-court offense who you want to face the ball, and both coaches doing that.
10-9, and the Celtics are looking for their first lead of the ball game, and Larry Bird gives it to him with 7:35 remaining, and the first basket after 3 misses by Bird. An interception by Parrish, and Ainge ahead of the field, and Kareem basket hanging comes back. So the Lakers trailing by 1. Blocked by Parrish, and here's Dennis Johnson guarded by Scott. He goes by him, and the Celtics lead by 3. Kareem, and Parrish wasn't about to pick up his 3rd foul.
Smart, no contest that time by Robert Parrish. Bird came over to help out, but Kareem is getting it done for the Lakers.
Celtics have run off 9 in a row now, and Dennis Johnson makes it 11 with just under 7 minutes remaining. AC Green.
Robert Parrish getting back so quickly gave them 5 defenders against 4 Lakers.
Green open. And McHale, the rebound for the Celtics. 15-12 Boston. Dennis Johnson. And right now, after the early spurt, the Lakers have quieted down and the Celtics have dictated the tempo.
They've taken the run away from the Lakers. They started out quickly, but they haven't been able to maintain that fast break.
And Michael Thompson gets off the bench for the Lakers. Byron Scott 1 for 12 from three-point range. Misses again. And this crowd is quieted down considerably. If you're the Celtics, that's exactly what you want to do. Harris and Boston now on a 15-2 run. And Pat Riley wants the timeout. So after an early 6-point lead, the Celtics are up by 7 in a dramatic turn here in the opening period. Bill Walton has come into the ball game for the Celtics, replacing Robert Parrish. So a surprise early substitution. Walton not Kite. And it is still Lakers ball as the Celtics have run off a 15-2 advantage to take a 7-point lead. Walter Matthau, who's been a basketball fan long before it was fashionable to just be seen here at the Forum, Tom. Scott missed.
The importance of Walton coming into the ball game really is whether he will be able to get back fast enough on the defense to protect against the Laker fast break. Kite could do that, but Walton perhaps can defend against Kareem a little bit better.
James Worthy misses. Michael Thompson throws a bad shot off the glass and then converts on a second chance. And Michael Thompson, who had 3 productive games offensively and has played McHale well, and it's a 5-point Boston lead. And Michael Cooper gets off the bench. The injured Laker. And now Walton is called for an offensive foul. And here's Michael Cooper coming back, making his first appearance.
And certainly he is very important for the Lakers. That outside shot may help open up things for the Lakers.
Larry Bird is guarding Michael Thompson, but sloughing off and just guarding the middle. No basket, and a foul called against the Celtics. It'll be their 3rd team foul and the first against McHale, so each team with 3 fouls now.
The Celtics want to show different looks defensively to the Lakers, get them guessing a little bit. They played them a lot one-on-one in the prior games, and the doubles, the timing on the doubles were different from game to game.
Worthy doubled with Ainge. Ainge makes a terrific play. He came along the blind side, knocked the ball away, and Danny Ainge. And Ainge and Magic collide, and a loose ball foul called against Ainge.
Here's Magic coming for the rebound and takes it away from Bird, and Ainge just trying to get his hand in there and knocks Magic down in the process.
The crowd has been kept quiet early in this first period. You're watching the 1987 NBA Finals, and Tommy Heinsohn, if you're a team on the road, there's nothing more you'd rather do than to quiet the crowd. Dennis Johnson getting off strong. Kareem has kept the Lakers in the game, and Magic hasn't gotten on track yet.
They have cut off Magic's penetration, the Celtics. Greg Kite in for the Celtics right now. That has been very important, the cutoff of Magic's penetration, and they've also forced them to a longer hook shot.
Rambis in for the Lakers, but the Celtics have made the bulk of the substitutions. Seasting in the backcourt. Greg Kite is in at center, and Darren Day is in at forward. So McHale is getting a rest right now. And a smallish team is in there for the Celtics, and a quicker one. Danny Ainge doesn't get the runner, and Greg Kite tips in. And for Greg Kite, that is his 2nd field goal in 9 tries in this series. Seasting fouls.
On Danny Ainge's penetration, they have to move the back line of the defense. That frees Kite up, and he steps inside Michael Thompson for not exactly an easy tip.
Seasting is guarding Cooper. That could be good post-up opportunities for Cooper. James Worthy gets the basket and draws the foul.
That is a very definite plus matchup for the Lakers. Worthy being guarded by Darren Day. He is not nearly big enough to stop Worthy. And just the speed of Worthy. Darren Day can probably match that, but the leaping ability and the long arms of Worthy leaves Day at a disadvantage.
Day was in one of the games in Boston, one shot guarding Worthy, and after that he came out of the ball game. He's in there again to give it a shot. Meanwhile, the Lakers are 1 for 5 from the free throw line, and they're trailing now by 7.
And the more the Celtics big guys, McHale and Parrish on the bench, the more difficult it will be for the Lakers to use the pace as a fatigue factor.
Missing, and Rambis tips it, and a foul call against the Lakers, and it'll be Rambis' first. And Tommy, the Celtics have taken the lead in this game despite the fact that Larry Bird has scored only 4 points.
They have moved to the strength, which has been the inside game. Parrish and McHale, and a couple of great shots by Dennis Johnson.
There goes Bird with a runner. Rambis and Day bats down the pass. Magic pushing it up 5 on 4. Cooper. Bird's got to play him tough at three-point range. Seasting guarding Magic Johnson. And an offensive foul called against Magic, who has gone up against, well, that's an 8-inch height advantage on Jerry Seasting.
Jerry Seasting does the intelligent thing. He takes the blow. When you're smaller than the man in the low post, you better do a little acting, and he got away with it.
2 fouls on Magic. Magic and Michael, each with 2. That's Michael Thompson. Worthy and Bird isolate. Bird puts a good move on James Worthy. No basket. And an offensive foul called against Larry Bird. He put the move on. Maybe that's why he put the move on.
He's a master of faking with the ball. You may not go for 1, 2, but he'll throw 3 or 4 at you, and finally you bite.
Magic Johnson sits down with only 2 points and doesn't look happy at all. Byron Scott replaced him. Worthy's posting up against Day. Height on Scott on a switch. And in the hands of Bird, lost it to Rambis, who drew the foul. Tommy, Michael Thompson was all alone inside, and the Lakers missed him.
I tell you, that's a sign of frustration by Scott. He wanted to make something happen for himself, and he just turned down Michael Thompson dead in the corner with nobody in him, nobody around him, and he takes the ball right to the teeth of the Celtic defense, and Rambis, with a lot of hustle, picks up the ball off the floor. That's going down and getting it in a meaningful way.
And the Lakers talk about frustration. Way off at the line as Dennis Johnson replaces Danny Ainge. That personal, by the way, was on Darren Day, and the Celtics have 3 team fouls. The Lakers only 1 with 2 minutes gone by in the second. Biggest lead was 7 by Boston after that early flurry by the Lakers. It looked like they were off to the races. The Celtics just clamped down. Off the screen, Seasting. Loose ball, Day has it, and a foul against Boston. Greg Kite picks up his second foul. So all 3 Boston centers, Parrish, Kite, and Walton, have 2 fouls. An incredible parallel to what happened last year when Boston was the kingpin against Houston. This was game 1. All right, the Celtics won by 12. This year, the Lakers won by 13. Then a blowout. So 2 substantial victories by the home team in the first 2 games. Then they moved to game 3, and Houston got back in it. So did Boston, but close games. Game 4, it became a 3-1 series in close games. And then in game 5, Houston won big and Boston won big, and the points are all even in the margin. And in game 6, a year ago, the Boston Celtics won by 17 over Houston to take the championship. A lot of eerie parallels to last year.
Lakers really having difficulty integrating a lot of people into their offense. Right now, they're going to go to Kareem again.
He hits the skyhook. The Celtics, by the way, coming back with their 2 tough inside men, Parrish and McHale. And the substitution pattern is in KC's favor here.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has been conserved during the season, so he got to be nice and fresh for this playoff, but it's going to be a tough job for him if he's got to carry all the offense.
So Casey Jones was able to go to the bench, and he brings back McHale and Parrish with a lead. Didn't have that luxury during the course of the season. Kareem with a left-handed skyhook. McHale to Seasting. Just under 9 minutes remaining in the first half. A kickball and a new clock. Larry Bird, who has scored only 4, but as Tommy mentioned, other people have gotten into the act so far.
And the Celtics have really used their bench wisely and not given up what they usually do with that bench, a lot of points.
Dennis Johnson. And a foul called before the shot. And Michael Cooper picks up his first foul. Lakers aren't close to getting into the penalty. The next foul against Boston will put them into the penalty.
Kurt Rambis now has drawn the assignment of trying to stop Kevin McHale.
Seasting uses a Parrish screen. And Darren Day swoops in and keeps it alive. Day tried to get it to Parrish. Not quite high enough. And here's a 3-on-2 Laker break for Worthy.
That's Laker basketball. Worthy out on that wing before any of the opponent can get back at him.
McHale, good position from Darren Day, and it's 6 points again.
He is just getting saccharine position, and I mean sweet.
Kareem off his hand, and here's a 2-on-2. Darren Day against Scott. Gets the basket, and pretty moves inside by Darren Day, who played his college ball out here at UCLA.
That was one heck of a basket by Day. There were 2 Lakers on him.
Celtics with an 8-point lead. Worthy. No way you'll touch that, and Magic Johnson will be coming back in for the Lakers, but the Celtics have had the lead most of this first half.
Rambis really took Darren Day out of that play so that Worthy could make that shot.
Rambis and McHale pushing into have met before in previous finals. Rambis clears Dennis Johnson's miss. Celtics get back.
But they stagger the man pushing the ball up the court. They've slowed the Lakers down. It's all half-court against half-court offense.
And Worthy draws the foul, and Larry Bird will come back in. Timeout. Up in the rafters here at the Forum is our newest daddy at CBS. Congratulations and welcome back to Pat O'Brien. Patrick?
Thank you very much, Dick. And isn't all-night television a great invention? Anyway, we are 65 rows and 140 feet above sea level. The top row of the Forum. And Dan, when people ask you about your seats, do you say you have good seats?
I think the guy that I really appreciate most is, as I was telling you earlier, is knowing Bob Uecker. I got these tickets from Bob Uecker. My wife and I know him very well, and I think that sitting up here and watching the whole thing form is probably a better seat than being down on the court.
Ever see any celebrities trek up here?
No celebrities whatsoever. These are all good people up here.
One thing he never hears is down in front. Let's go back downstairs.
All right, Pat, thank you very much. And if you're wondering where the Lakers offense has come from so far, that man, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and James Worthy have combined for 25 of the Lakers' 34 points thus far. Fast break, all even.
The Lakers had hoped to really unjam their fast break attack, and they have not been able to do it here, and they have not paced the game as quickly as they had paced some of the games in Boston. It's been a very slow tempo.
Larry Bird and Danny Ainge are back in, and so the Celtics starters that began the game are in there now, and Magic Johnson returns for the Lakers. Rambis, Worthy, Kareem, and Cooper and Magic at guard. Worthy now with 13. Tied with Kareem. McHale and Dennis Johnson each have 12 for the Celtics. Bird has only 4, and Magic Johnson only 2 to this stage. 6:40 remaining in the first half. Pick and roll. Ainge wisely went to McHale. Good defense by Kareem, I believe, inside. Here comes a Laker 4-on-3 break. Worthy.
Boy, do they jump on block shots. They're out there like now on a block shot, the Lakers.
And it's a 2-point game. And LA picking up the Lakers' third foul of the period.
Lakers defending the pick and roll. And the second cutter goes through, but Magic really takes the good shot away from Ainge. And now, that was McHale taking the shot. Didn't see what happened, but it didn't even get close to the hoop.
He had Rambis and Kareem in front of him. Meanwhile, Rambis picks up his second foul. Celtics already in the penalty, and the Lakers with 3 team fouls. Now make it 4. And Kurt Rambis picks up another one. That's 2 quick ones and 3 in the game on Rambis.
Rambis is trying to stop the cut of Larry Bird and fight him out of there. And Bird is entitled to go at least take a step sideways, and Rambis wouldn't let him do it.
So Michael Thompson comes into the game replacing Rambis. Crowd appreciates his hard effort.
They like to use him to retaliate a little physically. He's a banger, much like Kite was for the Celtics in this series.
McHale blocked by Kareem. Kareem's having a tremendous series, blocking shots way ahead of anyone else. Cooper for 2, short, and Bird out of the pack, 3-on-2 break. Here's Parrish. The big man can run with the sprained ankle and all. I'll tell you, they look like a spry bunch in this one.
Boy, they've gotten stronger as the series has progressed.
Worthy miss, and Kareem had position on Parrish to tip it in. So Worthy and Kareem have 31 of the Lakers' 40 now.
You know, both teams look very tired to me, but the Lakers probably a little bit more tired.
McHale with a turnaround over Michael Thompson. Celtics by 4. Nearly 5 minutes remaining. Casey Jones, who has urged patience for the Celtics throughout the series, even when they have a fast break advantage.
He does not want the Celtics to take shots under pressure. If it's open, fine. If it's your shot, fine, take it. But don't take shots under pressure.
Here comes Ainge again, trying to sneak up on Kareem. Now one-on-one against Parrish. Parrish, don't forget, playing with 2 fouls, and Kareem, who shot 35% in the last 2 games in Boston, is 8 for 10.
What a physical challenge this game is going to be to Kareem if he's got to carry the offense for the whole game.
And Parrish fired it up there because he was fouled.
Kareem doing it both ends, and McHale has great position on Worthy and an excellent pass, and it would have been a layup, except where did those 40-year-old legs come from? On offense now, they isolate Kareem on Parrish. Parrish played him perfectly, but he still was spry enough to get it up over the top.
Foul was on Kareem, his second now. Both teams are in the penalty. Celtics by 4. LA came out strong with an 8-2 lead, and then the Celtics took over the pace of this game. They're trying to even it up and send it to Game 7 on Tuesday night here at the Forum. Kareem, red hot. Everything's dropping for Abdul-Jabbar, who has 19 first-half points. And Tommy, Robert Parrish is running the floor as well as we've seen him throughout the playoffs.
He kept re-spraining that ankle from game to game, and sometimes a couple of times in each quarter. And he hasn't had that happen in this series, so I think he's got it all together.
Magic is 1 for 6 from the field. 7 on the shot clock. And now he misses another one. Parrish had his pass deflected. Dennis Johnson. Cooper won't go for Bird's fakes. And Worthy forces the turnover, and here comes a 4-on-2. LA, and Bird breaks it up. And Dennis Johnson, 2-on-1 Boston. And Kareem broke that one up. And McHale, no basket. And a foul against the Lakers. McHale all over Darryl Garrettson, doesn't like the call. But the foul will be on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, his third personal foul.
It is so difficult to break up a 4-on-2 fast break, but Larry Bird just forced the pass to go in the direction he wanted and just picked it off. What a beautiful play. And then Kareem did the same thing, a 2-on-1, got right in the passing lane, read the passer's eyes and knew where it was going.
Kareem will go out with 3 fouls and 19 points. He's having an extraordinary game, but now in foul trouble, and A.C. Green replaces him.
Pat Riley has used him sparingly all season long in key spots, and they usually save him for the fourth quarter for his offense, but they've used him extensively. I'm wondering how he will be like in the fourth quarter after carrying so much of a burden for the Lakers.
3:20 remaining in the first half. It's 50-44 Celtics. Lakers cut it down to a couple of points on 2 occasions. Magic still cold. Worthy keeps it going. A.C. Green. They left him open and he hits his first points of the ball game. Second year, great season off the boards, but against the Celtics he's been overmatched. The lead is 4. And Bird throws it away. He was going for McHale. And now the Celtics will call a timeout, leading by 4 with 2:40 remaining in the first half.
That Pat Riley does for a 40-year-old center is make it easy for him to get position so he doesn't have to fight the likes of Robert Parrish. You're going to see right here the pick situation. Now Kareem will come in and Robert Parrish will have to fight over the top to get him. Dennis Johnson has to go back and play him. Otherwise there's a mismatch and there's no elbowing or hard fight. A lot of physical stamina. They saved Kareem's stamina with that little pick to the spot.
Basically 5 players have done the scoring in this game. Kareem one of them. He and Worthy have accounted for 35 of 46 Laker points. And McHale, Parrish, and Dennis Johnson 40 of 50 Boston points.
You know, they asked Robert Parrish, does he see any appreciable difference in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? He says, yeah, he's got less hair now.
And he shaved off whatever he had for this game. 2.5 to play in the first half. Parrish blocks Michael Thompson and a foul called, and it will be the third personal on Robert Parrish. So the starting centers, Kareem and Parrish, have 3 fouls.
Parrish has done a great job of really clogging up the middle. And here's Thompson makes an easy move on McHale, and Parrish must try for the reject, picks up that foul. One of the things that I'm wondering about is in 2 prior series, the Pistons and the Bucks really went at Larry Bird, figuring that he was the poorest of the big Celtic defenders. And Michael Thompson right now is being played by Larry Bird, and they haven't gone at Larry Bird with the low post matchup.
Walton, who has 2 fouls himself in there. Celtics holding on to a 3-point lead. McHale. And Michael Thompson got him a little farther away than he liked. Good defense by Michael Thompson. Cooper, who hasn't scored, now is on the board with a runner off the glass, and the lead is sliced to 1.
That time he caught Dennis Johnson on the rush to protect against the 3-point play, and Cooper used it beautifully.
Dennis Johnson having a strong first half. And the Celtics keep the lead.
And you see the Celtics pick first back all the time. Bird ends up with Magic Johnson, and now they'll re-switch.
Bird is starting Magic, and Worthy swoops in and Walton the rebound. Here's a 3-on-3 situation for the Celtics. And Walton and McHale, both of those big men coming up late. Celtics have the rebounding edge, and they rebounded the Lakers in all 3 games in Boston total. Walton against A.C. Green. Walton getting slow, coming back. Cooper gone for three. In and out. He'll get back on defense. And with under a minute to play, and Walton really taking his time coming up.
He is really hurting. And it's awfully difficult when your feet aren't there to run up and down the court. And McHale's been doing it, but Walton has had mucho problems with it.
It's possible that that you can feel good in practice and start the game, and then after you've been there for a little while, all of a sudden the pain starts to come back.
Well, he just made a strong move against AC Green to try and take it to the hoop, and when you land on an injury like that the wrong way, it just throws shooting pains to your brain, and I think that's what happened.
That was a 20-second timeout called by Casey Jones, and we want to remind you that if the Celtics win today, we will be with you for the 7th and deciding game of the 1987 NBA Finals Tuesday night at 9 o'clock here at the Forum. And Fred Roberts has made his entry into the ball game, played 3 minutes in the last encounter, and Walton, who played 7 minutes in this one, goes out. 52-49, and Bird from the corner. 6 points for Larry Bird, and only his 3rd basket. Half a minute to go in the first half, and Magic comes back. Both Bird and Magic have been quiet offensively, and now they may be heating up.
Magic in the low post is the best alternative to Kareem's sky hook, because none of the Celtic guards really can get at that hook shot.
13 on the shot clock, a differential of about 3.5 to 4 seconds. Bird goes baseline, and Worthy is called for the blocking foul, his second.
Here's Bird using the fakes and just a little movement, and Worthy steps into him, and then it never does get that foot down. The charge for the blocking foul on Worthy.
One of the images I'll always remember from this series is seeing Worthy and Bird eyeing each other, isolated one-on-one in one of the corners of the floor.
I wouldn't want to eye one-on-one either one of them.
And a 20-second timeout called by Pat Riley to obviously drum up strategy when the Lakers get the ball for perhaps the final shot in a 4-point game. Kareem on the bench with 19 points and 3 fouls, and Robert Parrish also sitting down with 3 fouls and 12 points, and ultimately we may come down to the foul situation with those 2 men.
That's correct. And right now what they're trying to do, both ball clubs, is during this timeout is devise a plan to get it in quick, get it up the court, and see if they can. There's 9 seconds. You can still get a layup off of 9 seconds. Let's see what happens. The foul shot's coming up first.
Now Walton comes back in the ball game for the Celtics, and Byron Scott, the long-range shooter, is in for LA.
And they've got Worthy at half court, and Cooper being guarded by Dennis Johnson up the other side near the Laker bench. So there may be a long bomb pass or an alley-oop to Worthy.
Walton harassing Green, the inbounds passer. Final seconds. Cooper. And Green misses the tip. And they get a lot of chances, but nothing goes. And this first half scoring pace definitely favors the Boston Celtics, who have the lead at halftime, 56-51. Brent Musburger will be back with the Prudential at the half after this message.
Now it's my pleasure to welcome 2 gentlemen who rank amongst the greatest ever to play in the NBA. When you sit down and say, who are your top 2 guards? Well, how about this gentleman, the Big O, Oscar Robertson with the Royals. You know what he averaged scoring in his first 8 years? 30 points. And he also directed one of the great floor games in the history. It was his game until he decided to give the ball up. Who would you like alongside him in that backcourt? Well, how about this man, Jerry West? Mr. Clutch came to the Lakers, and there has never been anybody who could score in the last couple of minutes with the pressure on any better than Jerry West. There he is, hitting that dramatic shot against the New York Knicks in a championship. We welcome Oscar and Jerry West. Oscar, tell me, what was the best part of Jerry West's game? What did you like about Jerry as a guard?
You know, I think Jerry was a smart player, and he took advantage of the defense. Plus, he had a great shot, and, you know, and the things about it, he knew how to play with his teammates.
Jerry, how about Oscar? What was the best part of his game?
Well, Brent, I've said it many times. There's never been a finer basketball player who ever played, and that includes today. I've always said it's impossible to compare people from different eras, but I don't think this young man here would embarrass himself against anyone.
Well, I don't hope not. Neither would you, Jerry. You know.
Oscar, as I said before,
we love each other.
Fierce competitors when you played. Jerry, let's start with the state of the game with you. Is there any rules you would change in the NBA? What about the health? You're now, of course, the general manager here in L.A.
Well, Brent, I think the game is really very healthy. If I would see anything I'd like to change, but this would have been a long time ago, I'd like to see him have a couple more feet under the basket to play with, just under the basket. Everyone's talking about making the court wider or longer. If you would just take the present court, give him a couple more feet under the basket, you'd have to divide a new basket support. I think that would clean up the play and the pivot tremendously.
Oscar, how about you?
I think it's a good game. I think there's a lot of things that go on. I think basketball is very healthy right now, Brent. Maybe that would help moving the court further out underneath the basket. But I think to let the game go. The players are just adjusting to the game of basketball today.
Oscar, what about free agency? What would you have been worth if you'd have had free agency? What's your feeling about that?
I think I call home and ask my wife that question. She knows more about that than I do. I don't know. You can't really say. I played when I did. I'm happy about it. But I think I would be worth a lot more money than I was worth when I played.
Jerry, you have to view free agency from a different perspective now as a general manager. We got Ralph Sampson, a lot of talk about David Robinson. Where do the Lakers stand regarding those two fine players?
Well, first of all, Brent, we really have not been as actively involved in the free agent market as everyone has thought. We couldn't sign a free agent because we're over the salary cap. But I think it's great. And again, there's an awful lot of players who I think have put this basketball game in the perspective where we have so many fans and so popular today. And those players certainly weren't compensated for what they were. The players today, in many cases, make more than they're worth, and in some cases, not enough.
All right, we're going to come back. We want to talk about this game, the perspective of Game 6 from Jerry West and Oscar Robertson. We'll have that right after these messages from your local station. Of sport, and they are matched again for a championship, the Celtics and the Lakers. The crowd somewhat quiet here, Jerry West. 56-51. I think the Celtics have surprised them. There was an opening burst in this game by your team, and then the Celtics held it off and came back. What's your perspective, Jerry, on what happened?
Well, Brent, I really thought the way Boston played, we're maybe lucky to be as close as we are, but frankly, I like our position. I think we're going to win this game the second half.
Why would you say that, other than just being optimistic about your franchise? What do you see that encourages you?
Well, you know, I see us have a lot of energy, and defensively, I think we can do a little bit better job than we have, but Boston has shot the ball tremendously well, but I think they've searched out the loose man maybe better than we have. Maybe we were a little bit too high for this game, but I think we're going to play a great second half.
Oscar, what do you think about this game?
Well, I think Parrish is playing an exceptionally very fine basketball game. Not only playing when they half-court game, but he's getting on the court on the break. Yeah. And Larry Bird, even though he's not scoring, is making the right passes.
You know, Oscar, I have said that Eastern Conference basketball is tougher, more physical, and once they got into a bump-and-grind war that the Lakers haven't been all year, it was going to be tough. How do you see that? Is there a difference between East and West Coast basketball?
There may be, but I think it's a different type of basketball, as you say. You know, the Lakers run, all the West Coast teams seem to run up and down the court so very fast. On the West Coast, on the East Coast, they seem to set up a lot more. Maybe because they can't run as fast.
Jerry, is there anything to that observation that you didn't play as tough a teams as the Celtics beat to get into the final?
Well, we'll see when this playoff's over, Brent, but I really like to think that basketball has, every year something's different in each conference. And a lot of it depends on where you draft. Boston, of course, have assembled a wonderful team. They've been really good, and I think people say this team is beat up. I tell you what, I think they're healthy now, and they're playing their best basketball.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think they're healthy, too.
That's right.
Jerry and Oscar, I want to thank you both for being with us here this afternoon. Two of the all-time greats in the history of the great game of basketball, Jerry West and Oscar Robertson. Coming up now, it's the second half, Game 6 of the finals.
The Celtics lead the Lakers 56-51, and just a few moments ago, Pat O'Brien had a chance to get the thoughts of Lakers head coach Pat Riley.
Anything surprise you in the first half, Pat?
Well, not really. I just think we have to be a little more patient with our offense and take better shots. I think we're excited, and it's almost a blessing to be down just 5. So we got to be a little more patient in the second half.
Concerned about Kareem's minutes?
Not really. There's no time now. You know, he's had a good pace all year long, and I think, you know, the last game of the year, the last 2 games of the year, he's ready to roll.
Thank you. Good luck second half. Back to Dick.
Thank you very much, Pat. Tommy, once again, it looks like this game could have been played at Boston Garden the way the Celtics have maintained the tempo and have things in their favor right now.
They have slowed the Lakers down. They've taken the run out of the game. But what I'm looking at here is the Celtics, in doing it, spent an awful lot of minutes. Their key big guys, particularly Bird and McHale. And the other thing for the Lakers, I kind of disagree with Pat Riley. I think that was an awful lot of minutes, plus the burden of carrying the offense by Kareem in the first half. I don't know whether he's going to be able to produce like he normally does in the fourth quarter for the Lakers.
Especially with 3 personal fouls if he does get in foul trouble. By the way, let's take a look at the shooting statistics. And the Lakers, who are under 50% in all 3 games in Boston, are under, again, the 50% mark. This could be the key right now to the game. 9-point differential in free throws between the clubs and a 5-point Celtic lead. And, again, the fast break points. Last game, it was Boston with the edge over the speedy Lakers. And once again, it's 16-14, so that's awfully close in the fast breaks points. You're looking at the scoring, and you can see the 3 men who did the bulk of it. And as Tommy talked about their time, Parrish played only 14 minutes, so that's a plus for the Celtics there. And for the Lakers scoring, basically a 2-man affair.
Well, with Kareem having to really score those low post points, and Worthy, who's really been pretty good today. The key guy that they got to get into their lineup is Scott off the break. They got to get him with some outside shots so that he starts feeling good about himself.
And the crowd behind the Lakers as we start the third period. The Lakers scored 25 and 26 points in each of the first 2 periods, which is far below what they're used to. The Lakers scored 30 or more in 7 out of 8 quarters in the first 2 games. Bird for 3, way off the mark. And Magic Johnson with a 3-on-3 break. If Byron Scott doesn't produce early, you may see a lot of Cooper in this half. Magic goes in against Ainge. He brushed him and used his body.
That's what is known as a quick hitter. Before the Celtics defense was totally set up, they got the ball in a low post to a good matchup.
Pick and roll to Parrish, and Kareem has picked up his 4th personal foul. So when you talk about how many minutes he can play, that will go into Pat Riley's computer. 4 fouls on Abdul-Jabbar.
He's going to leave him in. He's got to leave him in.
But he can't pick up another one. Johnson misses. Green the rebound.
Needs Kareem's offense.
Well, looks like Kareem may be coming out, Tommy, as Michael Thompson is at the scorer's table. Green. McHale and Ainge collide, and here's Boston 2-on-3, and Dennis Johnson will slow it down. Ainge. They closed the middle, and Bird lingered in the corner, and McHale, no basket foul. If it had dropped. James Worthy picks up his 3rd personal foul, and Tommy, James Worthy played all 24 minutes in the first half.
He's young enough, and he ought to have the stamina to play the whole game. That's what Riley's hoping.
McHale against Michael Thompson, who's in for Kareem. Ainge taps it out.
The Lakers have gone with an exceedingly big lineup right now.
Harris misses.
Excuse me, they did take the Kareem out.
2-on-1, Michael Thompson back to Green, and a foul in the act of shooting as Danny Ainge had Green inside and picks up personal foul number 2.
Now, the Lakers have their fastest unit on the court with Michael Thompson as the center and Green. If I were Pat Riley right now, I'd be thinking of using Green. He's the guy that's been roaming around. The Celtics are not really totally concerned with him. He can get a 4-on-3 situation almost anytime they want with Green.
Pat Riley, who said that if the Lakers ultimately lose, it'll be public humiliation. He said that even before the last game in Boston. And so far, the Celtics have yet to score with nearly 2 minutes gone by in this third period. Every time the Lakers have come close, the Celtics have gotten the hoop to give them a 3-point lead. But Worthy saves it from Magic Johnson, and a brilliant play by James Worthy. Lead it on this play.
There is was real grit. And James Worthy with the full dive to save it, to create the easy hoop by Magic.
Their first lead since 13-12. Crowd is going wild here, Tommy, and it was James Worthy who ignited the Forum crowd with this tremendous play.
Well, he just steps out with those quick feet and he picks it off. But this part of the play is inspirational to the rest of his teammates. They say if Worthy can dive and play that hard, I better do the same. And here you see Magic now just picking it up. No green jersey in sight, and it's 2. But a very smart call of a timeout by Casey Jones to take that emotion away from the fans.
So the Celtics still haven't scored here in this third period. And the Lakers regain the lead. They were down by as many as 9.
Celtics are not keying on AC Green.
Ainge forced that shot in a 4-on-3 break for the Lakers. Worthy.
Fourth man up, a big factor, Dick. Celtics now having trouble getting that fourth guy up to protect against the break.
And Parrish throws the ball away from Bird. All 8 Laker points this period are on the fast break. And Worthy lost it.
Here it comes, swooping at you. You get the feeling you're one of those defenders. Look at the fourth man up, right inside and 2.
The Celtics still haven't scored. More than 3 minutes gone by in this period. And the first illegal defense call against the Lakers. That's a warning. Next time, of course, will be the team.
The Celtics have been so good at searching out whoever AC Green is playing. Right now, they're trying to go to McHale being guarded by Thompson when perhaps the better matchup would be Parrish being guarded by Green.
Danny Ainge, who was red hot on Thursday, is 1 for 3 today. And he is playing on a sprained ankle. Ainge goes for 3 here. Still off the mark. And it'll be Lakers ball.
The Lakers are on their toes defensively. That usually means fast break baskets.
Michael Thompson short with the jumper. Danny Ainge going strong to the hoop, and an offensive foul against Ainge as the Lakers had terrific defensive position inside.
That was a very poor move by Danny Ainge. There was no place to go. And that's the type of shot Casey Jones did not want the Celtics to try to attempt.
Third foul on Ainge. So Ainge and Parrish with 3. Worthy has 3 and Kareem has 4 for the Lakers. Magic. 10 points for Magic Johnson. Larry Bird is not yet into double figures himself. And Dennis Johnson, as Tom has mentioned, he's got to penetrate, he's got to make the shot, and Magic Johnson pulls up lame at midcourt. And Gary Beatty, the trainer, is out there. Magic trying to run it off. With the pace that these guys play in and their size, just amazing how they managed to get hurt and come back and fight through it all.
They banged knees. DJ banged Magic's knee. You could see him coming out of the pack. And Magic, of course, has had tendonitis problems with the kneecap for the better part of his career here at Los Angeles. But he is the type of guy that'll bounce back nicely from that. He'll come out and play no matter what.
I think at this stage of the series, you won't see anyone sitting down. And we saw Bill Walton give it a yeoman try in the first half. The Lakers have had an injury-free year, which is also one of the ingredients to winning a championship. The Celtics, of course, haven't had it that way. That's part of having a team win. Stay healthy. 61-58 Lakers. Magic with Ames. Double with McHale. Parrish, the rebound.
That's the first time that Magic has been forced to take that sky hook of his, the junior sky hook, going out from the basket instead of into the basket.
Celtics have still only scored 2 points. And a Laker foul. It'll be their third.
AC Green, we said before, has had difficulty denying anybody in the Celtics' big three inside position, and the Celtics have not really gone to that matchup until now.
2 fouls on Green and an offensive foul. Kevin McHale with his third foul. So McHale and Parrish and Ainge have 3 fouls for the Celtics.
I'm really looking forward to getting there. Once the Celtics win tonight on this afternoon, we'll be in business.
Quickly, what about today's outcome?
I think the Celtics will do it. They're really playing good. They're at the moment. They're shooting well, but the Lakers right now got great defense, but I think we're going to break them.
All right, Greg, let's go back to Dick.
Thank you, gentlemen. Magic to Worthy. Great pass from Magic Johnson. And Worthy makes a million of those. That's the first one I've ever seen him miss like that.
And that was a big one because Celtics come out of the huddle, and you don't want to have one right in your face after a timeout.
Larry Bird, who has only 1 basket since the first period. Still cold. Lakers by 3. Michael Thompson and Bird. And McHale went up. And the Celtics lost the ball to the Lakers.
McHale and Bird just were punishing each other for that rebound, and neither one would let go, and ended up on the floor.
Worthy with the basket now has 20 points, the game-high scorer. McHale, wild off the glass. Here's a 4-on-2 break. Byron Scott.
The Lakers are ready to pounce on any opportunity, and the Celtics have become totally disorganized. AC Green right here, get the rebound and pitch it out to Magic Johnson, but Byron Scott will take off up the court. Something now you're going to see at the tail end of this thing. Only 2 defenders of the Celtics, the speed, and Byron Scott, this is his type of basketball. Jump shots on the wing with nobody on him, and the Celtics in prior games were getting to him before he could get that shot off.
Home and away has been a big difference for Byron Scott, as you see what he scored and what he shot in the first 2 here in LA and then the next 3 in Boston. He only has 4 points on 2 for 5 thus far. But there was no such thing as Byron hitting the open jumper in the last 3 at Boston Garden. So the biggest lead of the game for the Lakers right now, 7 points. Celtics have been outscored 14-2 in this period, and James Worthy's diving save and Magic's hoop spurred them on.
And the Celtics out of that timeout went right to the Parrish Green matchup. And that's where I think they ought to be going, because they'll get some points, or double teaming will produce easy outside shots for the Celtics.
Green with his 3rd foul, and Worthy sitting down for the first time today. 5.5 to play in the 3rd. And a foul. Byron Scott commits the foul, and that'll send Parrish to the line.
Here's Michael Cooper and Larry Bird. Bird trying to come over the top, and Cooper bumping him before he can make the move. I mean, it gets a little physical under that. Little guys have to really put their hands on the big guys and then run fast.
I know, we've seen a lot of that. The Lakers are already in the penalty, and the Celtics have committed only 1 foul here in this 3rd, and Parrish missed both free throws. So the Celtics still have scored only 2 points and more than halfway through this 3rd period. Green, and a tip-in by AC Green, and it's a 9-point Laker lead.
They're going at Larry Bird. Bird is guarding AC Green.
Bird misses. Parrish. loose ball foul called against the Celtics. It'll be Robert Parrish's 4th foul. So Parrish and Kareem have 4 fouls. Has come into the ball game, replacing Kevin McHale, who has scored 16 for the Celtics. He and Dennis Johnson lead them in scoring.
Those minutes in the first half by the Celtic big guys, Bird and McHale, they need their offense. They have to have their legs if they're going to produce.
Michael Thompson makes good on the second try. And the Lakers offensive rebounding playing a big role now in their 11-point lead, the leading margin of this game.
The fast team of the Lakers right now in there, really being productive on the boards.
And Parrish lost the ball, and it was last touched by a Laker. And now you talked about how the Lakers look tired early. I think the Celtics look a bit tired now.
Yes, they do.
Dennis Johnson. And that's only the second field goal of this third period. Both by Dennis Johnson, who has 18.
Larry Bird has just been having all kinds of shooting problems, and they're doubling him on every opportunity.
Magic to Green. Parrish gets the rebound. Outlets to Day. And Darren Day, who's really had a fine shooting series. He was 8 for 13 coming into this game against LA.
Boston needs some easy hoops. That's why Darren Day is in there, perhaps on a hard push to get a layup just like he did. And not exactly a layup, but an uncontested shot.
Magic to Michael Thompson. And Parrish may have picked up his 5th foul. I believe he has.
Very big decision for Casey Jones.
Well, he's got to go to his bench, but Walton has gotten the call over Greg Kite today, Tommy. Are you surprised?
Yes, I am, because Kite was so successful in getting those quick feet back to stop the break. Walton, with the broken foot, has been not able to go full out. But Walton, a much more knowledgeable and experienced player. And they're opting for Walton's experience at this particular point to try and shut him down and block out and get some rebound.
A 9-point Laker lead.
An old Celtic philosophy. If you're going to lose, lose with your best.
Walton tried to force it into Bird. Magic out of a crowd to Michael Thompson. The Lakers are making what they like to call a statement here in the third period.
They sure are, Dick, and they're getting their feet going. They're playing excellent defense.
They've outscored the Celtics 22-6. Ainge kept it alive for Bird. And Larry Bird now in double figures, 4 for 13 for Bird, and he shot 50% in only 1 game of this series.
They are really getting at him, and Worthy staying with him on the picks coming off the top. Cooper, when he had him, everybody in Bird's jersey.
And Kareem, with 4 fouls, has been spending virtually this entire third period on the bench. Worthy just came back a minute ago. Darren Day with the foul. That's the 4th team foul against the Celtics. 1 more there in the penalty.
Here it is, and Day has got his hand on Worthy, and Worthy just smacking it off, and all of us, wow, I'll tell you, that's been going on the whole series. To call one like that, that's ridiculous.
Worthy went around Darren Day as if he weren't there. 22 for James Worthy. And 2 minutes to go in the third period. And Dennis Johnson goes flying, and he'll go to the free throw line. And the Celtics have scored only 8 points in this period.
Dennis Johnson trying to take it strong to the hoop, and he takes a hard foul there by Worthy. So As Worthy around Darren Day. Quick step. And just strong, powerful move against a much smaller player who ought to be able to deal with that quickness.
Fourth foul on Worthy. So Kareem and Worthy with 4. Parrish on the bench with 5 for Boston.
You know, it's funny. Every time you go from one venue to the other, the hard fouls happen by the team who happens to be playing on their home turf.
Roberts coming in for Larry Bird, who goes out with 10 points. Depends on how you look at everything in basketball. You could say the Celtics came very close to winning all 3 games in Boston. And then you could say that the Lakers did a good job in winning 1 out of 3 by beating the Celtics in a low-scoring, tough, down-to-the-wire game to take 1.
Very difficult for the Celtics to catch up quickly against the Laker team. They just don't have that speed to go out there and press.
Pat Riley calls a timeout. 1:53 on the clock. And the Lakers are up by 9. When you hold the Lakers to 51 points at a half at 25 and 26, you're doing your job. But the Lakers came out strong in the 3rd period, and Tommy, I have to go back to that great hustle play by James Worthy that seemed to ignite them. Right now, let's go up to Pat O'Brien with the owner of what they call the Fabulous Forum. Pat?
And behind us is maybe the largest doctor's office in America, Dr. Jerry Buss. Did you ever realize when you bought this franchise that it'd come to this?
Well, we certainly hoped it would, Pat. I mean, from the very beginning, this is the kind of thing we wanted to do, but it's grown beyond my wildest expectation, and I'm just thrilled with it.
We've heard a lot about Showtime, Dr. Buss. Explain Showtime from your perspective.
Well, whenever you have a player like Magic that does all of those magic things and the speed of Worthy, and of course Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with a famous skyhook, I mean, it is a show, so we call it Showtime.
Was there a conscious effort to do that, to get the stars out, to have a coach that's dressed so like Pat Riley's dressed? The whole thing seems to mesh together.
Well, the whole idea was to get L.A. behind the team. And of course, as you know, one of the biggest industries we have out here is show business. So the answer is yes. We wanted the show people to come out to show that L.A. was in fact behind their team. There was a time when we didn't have a home court advantage. The whole idea was to establish one. We think we've done that.
As an owner, objectively, do you think this is a very healthy sport right now, the NBA?
I think it's on a roll like no other sport is. We're jumping by leaps and bounds, and I just hope it continues this way, Pat.
All right, thank you, Dr. Buss. Let's go back down to Dick.
All right, Pat. And like Boston Garden, they don't put up conference championship banners, just world championship banners, and the Lakers are looking to win their 4th in this decade.
Well, this is Boston's version of their press team: Walton, Roberts Day, and Danny Ainge.
Michael Thompson setting the screen. Magic Johnson nails one.
Big hoop. That was a statement basket by Magic.
He has 6 of his 12 points here in the 3rd period. And Kareem has spent all of it watching. Danny Ainge. Walton. And Walton, good job by Michael Thompson inside defensively. Bothered Walton's shot. Nearly a minute to go in the 3rd. Magic from the other side. Makes no difference.
The spotlight's on. The speed is out of the box for the Lakers, and it's going to be showtime, I think, in this 4th quarter.
13-point lead, their biggest, and there is a weird basket. And it's Walton who gets credit for it. The lead is 11. It was 13, and consider at halftime, Boston was up by 5.
Celtics got to get it down to about 6 points if possible within the next 4 minutes.
4 on 4. Dennis Johnson all in, hard off the glass. Darryl Garrettson will call a foul against the Lakers. Let's check. No, loose ball foul on Fred Roberts. Both teams in the penalty. 29 seconds remaining in the third period. And Larry Bird, who has had his problems shooting, he has been their best defensive rebounder for the Celtics during the series. And right behind Casey Jones is Bird sitting, who has scored only 10 today. Magic Johnson on the line, and there's Sam Vincent making his first appearance as Ainge goes out. Magic now 16 points, 14 assists.
The Celtics contained the speed of the Lakers for 3.5 games, and all of a sudden it popped up with this unit on the floor right now. Thompson as the center and AC Green as the power forward. That's where they've been most effective.
Vincent throws it away into the hands of Michael Thompson. Cooper couldn't save it, out of bounds with 2 seconds remaining. But the Lakers have come on big here. Magic intercepts, and an 18-point turnaround here in the third period. Maybe just what the doctor ordered. Are doing some skating of their own as CBS continues its coverage of the 1987 NBA Finals. Fast break points were almost even at halftime, but forget about that. The Lakers started a run. They also blistered the Nets while the Celtics had problems, and Boston scored only 12 points, and a third period reminiscent of what the Celtics have made their living on for so many years, coming out strong and blowing out a team. Well, the game isn't a blowout at this point, but the Lakers are in command. Robert Parrish in the game, playing with 5 fouls. Magic to Green, and he lost it out of bounds. So in the game for the Celtics, Jerry Seasting and Dennis Johnson at guard, Bird, McHale, and Parrish up front.
Celtics have to have at least 3 good defensive stands and then turn it into baskets up the other end to have a shot at this ball game.
Does that first one count as one?
Right, and it certainly does. Right in a row, too.
Parrish baseline. And Michael Thompson out to Cooper. Magic. Cooper. Cooper has only 4 points. Danny Ainge has 2, so maybe their injuries have affected them today.
4 on 2, 4 on 3. That's what the Lakers have been doing to the Celtics. The speed very evident here.
Biggest lead of the game, 15. McHale lost it to Cooper, and here comes showtime again. And it's last touched by Byron Scott. It'll be Celtics ball, and Danny Ainge checks back in the game, and Seasting goes out.
Casey Jones saying right now, I'm going with my top 5 guys. We're going to win this together or we're going to lose it together. And they have done a great job all season long as a 5-man unit with the green jerseys.
Let's go. Michael Thompson on Parrish's miss. Scott. Dennis Johnson. And the Celtics better stage a rally in a hurry. Dennis Johnson, who's one to do it, makes it an 85-70 game. Kareem is spending a lot of time on the bench. He's playing with 4 fouls and well rested. And an official's timeout now. 9:45 remaining in the game. And they can't wait to start celebrating at the Forum. It's 9:45 remaining and a 15-point Laker lead. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Let's take a look at what happened with Dennis Johnson and Magic Johnson.
This is the home of the pratfall, but that definitely is not a pratfall. They kind of hit him underneath the nose and the lip.
Magic,
unintentionally,
right,
as he was really trying to communicate with one of his teammates, and Dennis Johnson just happened to be there.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is back in the game. He's been on the bench for 13.5 minutes. Basket by Michael Thompson, and when Kareem came out, the Celtics were leading by 3 a minute into the third period. So it was Magic with 12 in the period, Michael Thompson 6. Michael Thompson's having a fantastic game off the bench for the Lakers. He got a rebound there, it's 8. And Cooper hits. 89-70, timeout. While we were away, dancing on the court, and I'm sure dancing in the crowd, as the LA Lakers, now 9 minutes and 13 seconds away from their 4th NBA title of this decade and 5th since they've come to LA. But the Celtics have never quit all year long, as you know. McHale has his shot blocked. Worthy comes down with it. But the Lakers took charge in the third period, Tommy, and they don't want this thing to even come close now.
That was always their ultimate weapon. They had trouble springing it loose in Boston, but they sure did here. And when they get it loose, they are unstoppable.
Michael Thompson and Kareem with Worthy up front. Dennis Johnson draws the foul. And a word about Michael Thompson here, who has 13 points and 8 rebounds. We were out here in the regular season game between these teams, and a couple of days before, near the trading deadline, Jerry West, who is Brent's halftime guest along with the Big O, made a deal. It could have been Wayne Cooper, could have been a lot of people, but he held out and got Michael Thompson. Everyone thought that that would be the deal that would put the Lakers over the top.
Sure it was a championship move, in my opinion, and I said so that day, because you don't get a quality backup center like a Michael Thompson, and they needed a quality backup center. That's where they were really hurting.
Maybe a little too quotable for Pat's taste when he came here. He says, you know, these practices are tougher than playing the Celtics. And Pat Riley says, I don't want to read too many of those quotes.
Well, that's perhaps when he learned to win when he came here with the Lakers.
Worthy with the rebound. And a foul inside. A loose ball foul against Kareem, and that's his 5th personal foul, and in a close game that would be a big factor, but right now it isn't.
That spurt by the Lakers with that fast break really now said, hey, Kareem does not have to really score in his third quarter or fourth.
Gets the rebound. Cooper drills it to Michael Thompson, and Bird played well defensively. 4 minutes gone by at this final period. McHale at the other end. Kevin now with 18 points.
It's going to be a run and gun game from here on in, and that favors the Lakers.
And those points by McHale were his first of this half.
No more pecking away by Boston, slowing the tempo down. They're going to have to try and match the tempo with the Lakers and still win.
Kareem. Basket counts. Jack Nicholson, who went to Boston for the middle game. Back home here. And Robert Parrish has fouled out of the ball game with 6. 12 points and 5 rebounds for Robert Parrish.
There's Kareem. They take away the skyhook to the baseline. And he always seems to come up with something a little bit different. A left-hand hook. It rattled around a little bit, but it went in.
Greg Kite replaces Parrish in the Celtic lineup. Kite, who played a major role in 2 Boston wins, was shuttled to the background today. Tommy?
I don't know. When he shaved his hair, I don't know if he came out prepared to just scare the Celtics. He looks mean with those goggles.
I'm talking about Kite going to the background in this game.
Kite has come in, and they elected to go with Walton's experience rather than Kite's fast legs, and that may have something to do with this situation.
Dennis Johnson leads the Celtics with 26, and Larry Bird has scored only 10 points. Dennis Johnson with a good defensive play. Cooper comes right back at you. is on Kareem. McHale. 1-on-3. Ainge for 3. Thompson with another rebound. Danny Ainge is 1 for 8 from the field. McHale up court. On the wing, Dennis Johnson as well, but Ainge goes coast to coast. Dennis Johnson blocked by Michael Thompson. And DJ draws the foul inside. And Connor Henry is coming into the game for the Boston Celtics. Danny Ainge goes out, and the clock shows 6:26, 92 to 76 Lakers, and Worthy picks up his 5th personal foul. It was a year ago, a little more than that, I guess, where the Lakers were unceremoniously dumped by the Houston Rockets in 5 games. And the Lakers had to regroup. They came to camp focused. They won more games than anyone in the NBA this season and established the home court advantage. And Tommy, that's why they play the regular season, because the home court edge, just as the Celtics had it in the Eastern Conference, would pay dividends with them in the series against Milwaukee and Detroit.
Very, very important. And they did a lot of great things. In addition to changing the style back to using streakers instead of wide bodies, they really put themselves on the line, accepted new roles, new responsibilities. Michael Cooper came along, changed his game to become a middleman and an outside shooter, go for the offense.
More people got involved. Foul was on Dennis Johnson. Kareem against Hike. 2-man game. Long sky hook. And Worthy is hustling for the loose ball as if this game were still tied. And it's Lakers ball. And they want a timeout. James Worthy has come back with a vengeance today. 22 points and all court hustle for the Lakers. Awfully serene. You wonder if that's how they kept their nickname, the Lakers. That's a big lake, isn't it?
That's the biggest of the big.
But it's going to be crazy in the Laker locker room if the score holds up, because the champagne is on ice. And I know Brent doesn't have his very best jacket with him today. I know that.
Oh. All right, Barney. Abba dabba doo, Dick.
Cooper. Michael Thompson. See whether he pushed off, and he did. The Lakers started it off in the playoffs against Denver. Then they moved on to Golden State. They won 3 straight, then lost the 4th, 1 in 5, and then they took Seattle out in 4 games, 3 of them very tough encounters. Bird just having an off day offensively. Has the shot blocked by Kareem. But where would the Celtics be without Larry Bird? Dennis Johnson will go to the line.
You have to say, though, that the Lakers are as gritty a bunch, really, as the Celtics. There's no question the Celtics had true grit going through 2 7-game series to get here with all those injuries.
Kareem's going out, Tommy. Let me just interrupt you. The hand for the 40-year-old. James, no, check it. James Worthy fouls out with 6. I guess Kareem will get a hand also, but Worthy goes out. Fouled out with 22 points.
And you have to say, getting back to true grit, that Worthy was probably one of the guys that had to resurrect his ego. And that's true grit under this type of pressure. You know, when after you lose a game and you don't play well and all this 500 some odd press people are bounding around saying, what happened, you can go in the tank pretty fast. He responded beautifully to that situation with a big game today.
Well, we were asking questions too. Magic to Kareem. What will happen as we get close is that Pat Riley will take out one by one the key men. And this place will rock even at that point. McHale has it blocked by Kareem. 3-on-2 fast break. Cooper to Magic. Follow up, Scott. Worthy was the top scorer for the Lakers in the playoffs. 22nd timeout, Celtics. But this issue has long been settled. In the middle of that huddle is Pat Riley, who likes to think of his team not so much as a glitter and showtime team, but a hard hat team in their own right because of their work ethic. And if Pat Riley wins, and he will, he'll join Red Auerbach and Johnny Cundla as the only coaches to win 3 or more NBA titles. And I know, Tommy, you have respected very much what Pat Riley has done, not only in not making dramatic changes, but in his system.
I'll tell you, Pat Riley became truly a great coach this year because, in my opinion, it was courageous to make the changes he made and possibly withstand some severe criticism if it didn't work.
Another turnover. Lakers lead by 16. The Celtics came out, withstood an early Laker thrust, led by 7 at the quarter and 5 at the half.
You know my favorite story about Pat Riley? He talks about the peripheral opponent, and he turns everything off during the playoffs. You know, food, he doesn't eat that much, and he doesn't take telephone calls, and he got a letter from his best friend congratulating on getting to the final, and the signature said, signed, peripheral opponent.
Kareem is fouled. Kevin McHale, who may undergo surgery. Courage of the Boston Celtics cannot be overemphasized. They were battered and bruised in the early series, and they were healthier here. But I think even Larry Bird knew what was in store for the Celtics going against a very strong Laker team.
They bottled up that speed. They got it back in the bottle. They kept it there for 3.5 games, and all of a sudden the bottle broke, and out it came, poured all over them. Along with a lot of champagne, it looks like.
4:14 remaining.
And I can't say enough about Casey Jones this year either for the Celtics, what he did for his ball club. He says, I didn't have a bench. My bench was in street clothes most of the year sitting there.
4 minutes remaining in this 1987 season. Dennis Johnson misses a 3. And the rebound by Cooper. The Celtics have scored only 24 points in the second half. And it's a 3-on-1. And Larry Bird with only his 5th basket in 15 tries. So we have not had a repeat champion. It'll now be 18 years. Ben and Green were the last to do it in 1969. Kareem with an exclamation point. 17-point lead for the Lakers. McHale comes back.
The guy that really took over this ball club this year was Magic Johnson. And one of the things that Pat Riley said was, you know, Magic has got the perfect ego. He always considered the Lakers Kareem's team. He never infringed on his territory. And this year he's assumed the responsibility, and Kareem let him do it.
And the Celtics still fighting. Well, there's a fellow we haven't talked about in this series, never mentioned his name, but he'll go into the book. And the Celtics still fighting. Well, there's a fellow we haven't talked about in this series, never mentioned his name, but he'll go into the books. Billy Thompson, who was acquired in a deal with Atlanta, played on the NCAA champion Louisville Cardinals last year, and is on the way to becoming only the 4th player in NBA history to go from an NCAA crown to an NBA title. There are the others. And, of course, he's playing with one of them in Magic Johnson. And Billy Thompson had a hyperextended knee, suffered in the first series against Denver, and he's a player that Pat Riley and the Lakers like down the road.
He's got that speed to get on the wing plus power to rebound, maybe even better than Worthy on the offensive glass.
Pat Riley had his way. Every player would be between 6'7" and 6'9" and could run on the line.
And think.
2.5 remaining. And a foul, and Kareem, no basket. Bird's coming back in for the Celtics. And Roberts going out. 99-87, and the Celtics down by 12 with 2:30. And of course, they have slowly pecked away here.
I can remember when I coached, and he was with the Milwaukee Bucks. And I thought the best way to beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was to attack his stamina. Was I wrong, huh? No, we won the championship that year, but here he is, 40 years of age. He's somehow really got that stamina and then some.
Well, he's become a lot more warmer and accessible. I think the fire that destroyed his home was a big mark there, because people around the country sent him jazz albums, and I think he became a much warmer person since that time.
Well, he sits in the locker room and he talks to people now. You know, he was very quiet, introspective person, and everybody kind of was reluctant to really invade that privacy, that shell that was around him. But he's much more open now, it appears.
And he enjoys the game, as I guess everyone does. When you get toward the end of the career, you realize what you may be missing, and you appreciate it a little more. Larry Bird has 6 points since the first period. It's a 12-point lead for the Lakers, and they're 2:15 away from winning.
They did a great job on Larry Bird, denying him the ball, the Lakers. Really putting a quick man on him, and working him over the picks.
And the foul. Points for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He carried them all through the first half until they managed to unleash that quickness and speed. And he is as big a part of this thing, probably bigger than anybody else right now, because he held the fort.
And then in the third period, when he went to the bench with foul trouble, it was Magic and Michael Thompson and Magic Johnson who took over, and that was the key moment in this game. Bird fighting his way in. 104-81.
This might be the last time we'll see the 5 Celtics starters together.
They got to make sure that they don't undergo wholesale changes either, as the Lakers didn't last year. Michael Thompson with 15 points.
The Celtics have been a great organization of knowing when to hold and when to fold, I'll tell you. They don't sell that nuclear short until it's way down the road, too far to be reclaimed.
Kareem the rebound. And I'm sure Pat Riley will want to start taking his stars out. And it's going to come soon. The next dead ball, you're going to hear a couple of rousing ovations. Jay is fouled, and now you'll hear him. Kareem goes over to Casey Jones and shakes his hand. And Magic goes out as well. Valiant group that is. Cooper is out. Magic scored 16 points and had 19 assists. Kareem with 32 points and 4 block shots. The Lakers wound up undefeated at home in the playoffs.
Dick, a little tribute to the Celtics, too. They never gave an inch in this entire series.
No, they didn't.
They got beaten, but they never quit. They came up a real grit.
Adrian Branch. And a foul. 29 seconds remaining. The last time the Lakers won the title, they won it in Boston Garden. They're winning this at home against the team they want to beat more than any other. Fred Roberts is fouled. So the final celebration belongs here. And they're getting ready to pop the corks.
The champagne is flowing in the locker room of the NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers. We'll be back with the...
Thank you. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, at the age of 40, you're still collecting championships. Kareem, this one has to feel about as sweet as any of the others.
Oh, it's a nice one. It's we worked real hard for it, and I think the most significant part of it is that at the beginning of the season, nobody picked us to even finish first in our division. And here we are with the World Championship. I'm really proud of this team.
Kareem, will you definitely be back next year and for 2 years? Are you committed to 2 years now?
Well, I'll definitely be back next year. The Lakers are trying to talk to me about an additional year. I'm going to listen to what they have to say. I haven't made any commitment on that.
All right, but we'll look forward to seeing you next year. Congratulations. The most valuable player for the third time. They have won 4 championships, and Magic Johnson, an MVP, unanimous choice. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a total team effort, really. You know, we all just chipped in and just got the job done, and it's just great to be a champ again.
Does this one feel better than even the first one, Magic?
Oh, yeah, it did. Because of the fact what we did during the regular season, we carried it on into the playoffs. So it's definitely the sweetest one. I just like to say hello to my mom and dad back in Lansing, Michigan.
All right, congratulations, Magic. We will continue from the Lakers locker room.